Josh and Heath here with East Tennessee Tactical Arms. Kind of a new video thing we're doing called Tech Tips. Short 5-8 minute videos. This one's going to be on trigger assembly installation on a AR-15 lower. We're using a 3D printed high VIZ orange so that it'll be hopefully a lot easier to be able to see this stuff, the more detail inside. So I know a lot of YouTube videos out there, all of it being black, it's kind of hard to see everything. But this strip 3D printed lower will be the same as a serialized metal lower. Like I said, it's just for a better visual of what's going on in there. We'll have little clips in the video, pictures of everything else, so we'll get into it. Okay, here is the trigger assembly parts. Here's your hammer spring. This is how it'll go, as you can see in the pictures. The trigger spring, and then your disconnector spring will go in here. The fat end goes down in there. There's a fatter end on the spring. Just be sure the fat end goes down on into the trigger itself, and the disconnector will set on top just like that. Alright, so as you can see, we've got the hammer and the hammer spring put together. You put it on with this lower part like so. Whenever you put the hammer down on a table, the back parts of the spring should touch, and then you should be able to put pressure right in the middle and lift up like that, and that'll tell you that you've got it on right. And then here's the spring on the trigger itself. What we're going to do next is take the disconnector spring. As you can see, it's got a little thicker side to it on the bottom side, and what you want to do is in this little hole there'll be a little groove for it, and you'll just push it in until it bottoms out. And then what I do is I actually drop the trigger itself into the lower first, and then I set the disconnector on top. If you try and put them in together, they just keep falling apart and you have to set them back together anyway. And then I'll take a small little punch and I'll actually run it through to get everything lined up. Let's see, actually I'm going to run that through from the right side. So when I put my pin in, there we go. And then these grooves, what you're going to do is you want to put it from the left side of the lower into this bottom hole right here. And as you can see, my punch is sticking through, so I know everything's lined up. And then I'm just going to follow it back through that hole, and that'll help me get everything lined up as I'm pushing it through. There we go. As you can see, that's in there. And what those pins actually do is they catch on the hammer spring itself. Will catch inside those pins where those little grooves are and keep everything from walking out. So next, what we're going to do is put the hammer and the hammer spring in. What you want to do is the back part of the lower where the buffer tube goes, you want the points of the springs pointing out towards it. And just like I did with the trigger, I'm going to set that punch partially in right here. So when I get the holes lined up, those holes lined up with those holes, I can push it in just to hold it in place while I get my pin in. Okay. Same thing, you want to put it in on the left side. There's my little punch sticking through. May have to use the little gentle persuasion here. Let's start over there this time, maybe without the punch. Go. As you can see, where this is 3D printed, this is a much thicker outside diameter, so our pins are a little smaller. So what we're going to have to do is just push this in a little bit further. Actually going to use my punch now to get it seated in there far enough. I want it about even on both sides. Alright. As you can see, the hammer's catching on this disconnector now. And that's how you install an AR-15 hammer and trigger assembly. You do not want to, once you put this in, you don't want to pull the trigger without putting your finger over the hammer, because if it strikes right here on the lower itself, it can crack it. And that's not just on 3D printed, it can crack a aluminum one also. So, and you don't want to damage your lower. So, thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful.